Welcome, everyone. So today we are going to look at Arūpāvacara Cittas, which are the Cittas of the non-material realm. And hopefully we'll have enough time to finish also Lokuttara Cittas, which are the enlightenment Cittas. So we have a lot of content today. If you're all ready, then shall we start? So let's start the session by paying respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Good to see you all. Okay. All right. So today, before we get into the Arūpāvacara jhanas, the Cittas of the non-material realm or non-material plane or sphere. So sometimes realm, plane, or sphere, they are interchangeably used. So depending on the translation that you are reading, then you will find these different words. So let's revise a little bit about jhana citta, right? So last week we talked about jhana citta. So when the person, he or she is concentrating, the meditator, concentrating very much on his or her meditative object, and until the object, like let's say last week we used the example of the earth kasina, right? So the earth disk. So he or she concentrated on it so much, then later on this learning, the learning sign, that when she can remember already the disk without opening his or her eyes, then she can see the mental image, and then the image get polished until it become like so smooth like a mirror, right? So at some point when the 5 hindrances for the spiritual development are being suppressed, and then jhana citta arise in the mind of this person, right? So jhana, the word has 2 meanings: contemplate, on the meditative object with a high level of concentration, and also it means burning up what? The 5 hindrances for the spiritual development. Yes. Okay, so how exactly does it work? This is some more information that I haven't tell you yet last week. Now, how does jhana inhibit these mental hindrances? Remember, we have 5 jhana factors: vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekagata. Yes. So these 5 need to be functioning very properly and equally. That one factor should not exceed the other. And then when they are functioning in harmony, then the mind is firm and steady on the object. Then jhana arises. And at the same time, actually, each one of these jhana factor, it counteracts with one of the hindrances. So with vitakka, it inhibits or it suppresses sloth and torpor. Then with vichara, doubt is being inhibited. Then piti, joy or pleasurable interest, it counteracts with ill will. And sukha or upekkha, in the case of 1 to 4th jhana, and upekkha in the case of 5th jhana later on. Well, actually here maybe just sukha, because when a person, when it arrives to upekkha, then already all these hindrances should be already suppressed, right? So sukha, here mental feeling, it suppresses this hindrance, and ekagata, one-pointedness, sense desire. So this is how actually the 5, it's automatic. So this is how actually the 5 hindrances suppresses the 5 hindrances respectively. Okay, please just let me go back to this page. Yes. Okay, so that's why the 5 janangas, the 5 jhana factors are important because that is how actually it works to suppress the hindrances. Then only when these hindrances are suppressed, then the mind is stable and jhana citta can arise in the mind of this person. Now, okay, talking about this, I want to get back to some points from the question and answer last week, and I want to add a little bit more information. Last week, Claudia asked whether one has to, whether the meditator has to intentionally or consciously drop vitakka in order for the second jhana to arise. Remember, so first jhana, we have the 5 jhana factors, and second jhana is attained through dropping of vitakka. So only 4 of those jhana factors are left, and then each one are being dropped to get to a higher level of jhana, right? So the answer is yes, I confirmed with my teacher, and then he said, yes, it is necessary that the meditator have this mental attitude that he has to get into a higher level of jhana. So what is not necessary, which is grosser, he needs to drop it. For example, in the first jhana, he attains first jhana with the 5 jhana factors. Then in his mind, then he has to keep this attitude of he wants to get higher, and then he thinks vitakka is very close, still very close to the hindrances. So in order to get higher, to a higher degree of jhana, then he needs to drop vitakka. Just like a person, when he is studying at high school, then he attained, the high school certificate, and he think, well, this is not good enough, I need to study more. Then for him, that high school certificate is nothing anymore. I'm going to the university. So he has to, then he thinks this attainment with this 5 jhana factor is still not enough. So then he goes to the next level. Then when he is in university, then he gets his bachelor degree, and then he still thinks that this is not enough. Then then he goes further. He goes to master degree. Then he goes to PhD, like that. So one by one, then he thinks that the attainment that he has got now is not good enough. So he has to further calm the mind. So he eliminates further the jhana factors in order to attain higher jhanas. So yes, the meditator has to have this attitude of consciously consciously leaving out this grosser jhana factor. Yes, Claudia.
Hi, thank you for your clarification.
Yes.
What I want to ask is, like this process happen not during the jhana. This process happen when one comes out from the jhana and then realize that this one is not enough. So then I need to go to the next step, and it does, with an intention of doing it, correct?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for clarifying also. Yes, so he is in the first jhana. He practiced and he attained the first jhana. But of course, before he goes to the second level, then he has to practice again a lot until he is very, very good at the first jhana, that he can enter and come out very efficiently and as he wants. Then he is like very, how do you call it? Like very efficient or very familiar with the first jhana, he goes to the second jhana. So after he comes out from the first jhana, then he said, now I want to practice more for the second jhana. Then at the time, then she or he keeps this intention and he practice again. And that's when he or she practice to attain the second jhana. So right, you're right, not in the jhana, when after he comes out. Okay, and it takes time, just like after finishing high school, he wants to get the university degree, but he has to study 4 years, right? So he has to first jhana, he has to practice until he can get to the next level, same way. Okay, and also last time Amar, he asked whether a musician, if a musician is very concentrated on the music, whether it is possible to get jhana as well. So last time I said that because the music keep changing, so that is one point. And then later on, I also thought about another point, which I want to share with you, is that music, it could make the person easily fall back into sense desire, actually. Because this is a sense object, right? So very easily, he may enjoy the sense desire with the ear, in the ear sense, no? So in that case, it's maybe a little bit too close to the sense desire. So most probably not very possible for them to attain the jhana with that meditative, with music, not with this object. Okay, so that's 2. And then another one more question that Amar has, I'll just also answer it here. He talked about whether in the Satipatthana Sutta, whether the jhana are being mentioned, like the way to practice to jhana. So I checked again with my teacher, and then he said that actually in the Caraṇapālī, Anapana is possible. The way of practicing Anapana is introduced in the Satipatthana Sutta, but that is also not forgetting the strong quality of samadhi for the attainment of jhana. It is not for attainment of jhana. So in the Satipatthana, although these practice are being introduced, they are for gaining the 10 kinds of vipassana jnana. So it is directed to that direction. So it is, yes, so the Satipatthana Sutta is mostly for vipassana practice. It is not for samatha practice. Now, although also it is mentioned with some commentaries that for people of samatha yanika, meaning the person who will attain, who want to attain nibbana or maggaphala, path and fruition consciousness, which is the consciousness that we're going to look at today too. For those person who want to first attain jhana and then practice vipassana, then Caraṇapālī is suitable for them, although it is mentioned there, but in the sutta itself, the practice is directed to directly for vipassana jnana, for wisdom, not for jhana, concentration only. Okay, and then also only in the Caraṇapālī will this Anapana practice, only is in Caraṇapālī is it available. In the Vedana, Citta, and Dhamma, all of their objects there are nama and rupa. Vedana is cetasika, no? And then Citta is mind, and then Dhamma is nama and rupa both. So in this case, for meditative object, which can also lead to jhana, is only available in the Caraṇapālī. Okay, so I hope that's clear.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, and so let me skip to the other slide, and then we will go to today's content. Okay, so last week we finished with Arūpāvacara Citta. Today we are going to Arūpāvacara Cittas, which are the cittas related to jhana that takes non-material quality as the object of meditation. Okay. Now let's see what are the differences, right, with Arūpāvacara. Okay, now Arūpāvacara Citta are those cittas with the characteristic of non-material plane, right? So Arūpa, this Pali word, A means non, and Rupa, matter or material, so non-material. Avachara, as we have seen previously, moving in or frequenting. Or plane. So Arūpāvacara cittas are those cittas that are even more refined and therefore a higher degree of development than that of the Arūpāvacara cittas. Its practice, like the samatha meditation practice of Arūpāvacara jhanas, consider even the slightest aspect of material quality as being far too coarse. So it is even more refined. So its object of meditation is something that is non-material. Okay. Although Arūpāvacara, its object also non-material, is the concept, but it's still based on material property, right? So now in Arūpāvacara, he's going to a higher degree of concentration and refineness. So therefore, this their meditation object is totally non-material in this case. Okay, so in the Arūpāvacara cittas, the jhanas, we have the Vitakka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekaggata, the 5 jhanangas, right? And then the 5 hindrances are being suppressed temporarily. And then when the person continue practicing, the first jhana arises, then leaving aside Vitakka, then second jhana arises, then the third jhana, and the fourth jhana, and then we have the fifth jhana remaining with only two jhana factors, right? Upekkha and Ekaggata, only equanimity and one-pointedness. So at this point, the person can continue practicing for the Arupa jhanas. Okay, now Arūpāvacara jhana, in the same way as the Rūpāvacara Cittas, they are also divided into three categories. So we have Kusala Citta, while the person is practicing samatha meditation, and then this Arūpāvacara jhana citta arise in his mind. When this is happening, those are the ones that are, while he practicing in jhana, those are the wholesome cittas, no kusala cittas, this category. Then we have the vipaka cittas, which are the result of this practice, result of the jhana. And then we have again the kriya cittas, the non-material functional cittas, which are just like the other category. This is when a totally enlightened person practice these jhanas. When these jhanas arise in the mind of this person, of this totally enlightened person, because he is totally enlightened and arahant or the Buddha, so he does not have karma anymore, right? He does not plant seed anymore. So therefore, his whatever happens is only functional in his mind, right? Okay. Now, as we said, citta and its object must match, right? They have an intimate relation with each other, the mind and its object. So if the object is coarse or gross, then the mind is also that way. Then if the meditation gets more and more deeper, then the mind is calmer and more stable, then more refined and subtle mind arises, taking more subtle objects. Now, in the fifth Rūpāvacara jhana, only Upekkha and Ekaggata, these two jhana factors, are remaining, right? So here, when the person wants to continue on to a higher level of jhana, Arūpāvacara jhana, what does he have to do? First, he take the practice again, just like he was doing with the fifth Rūpāvacara jhana. So he keeps practicing, and then he do the same way. He meditate on this object, like say the earth disk, until it becomes like the very polished mirror, like this sign. But now at this time, he stopped there. He stopped paying attention to this object at this moment, because if he was going to enter fifth Rūpāvacara jhana, he must continue concentrating on this object, no? But now at this point, instead of paying attention to this object, he pays attention to the space occupied by the sign or covered by the sign instead. So when he stopped paying attention to the sign itself, the sign disappeared. Then in this place, it remains just only an empty space. That empty space is called the space obtained by the removal of the kasina sign here. Then in the mind of this practitioner, then he contemplates on that object again and again and thinking infinite space, infinite space, infinite space, the infinite space that are created by removing the object, right? So then his mind is further established, stabilized by contemplating on this object again and again. Then, and until some point when his concentration, Ekaggata, attains to a certain level, then the first Arūpāvacara jhana arises in him. And the first Arūpāvacara jhana is called Akasa Nenchayatana. Now, Akasa means space. Anencha here means infinite. And ayatana here means object. Most of the time when you read some translation in other places, even in the Abhidhamma, ayatana you might read that it means a base. But here, in this case, it means an object, right? So it's an infinite space object. So the meditative object of meditation for the Arūpāvacara jhana, as we have previously seen, they are objects that are non-material, right? As it said in the name of the citta, arupa, such as this infinite space, no? So this is the first Arūpāvacara jhana, taking infinite space as its object. Okay, so now this person, he has attained already the first Arūpāvacara jhana. Now later, he wants to continue practicing on what he has to do. Now, after emerging from that jhana, then he take that jhana consciousness, the first Arūpāvacara jhana, that consciousness, the consciousness that take the empty space as object, as its object. Now, this time he meditates and he thinks infinite citta, infinite consciousness, infinite citta, and then he contemplates on that. Why do we say infinite citta? Because here it means the consciousness or the citta that takes the object, which is infinite, no? Because he expands the space into then like an infinite space. It's a concept, right? Because we are for the first Arūpāvacara jhana. So that's what he concentrates on. Now for the second, then he keep contemplating on the jhana that take that object. Then to some point, the second Arūpāvacara jhana arises in him. And this jhana, this citta is called Vijñāna Nanca Yatana. Now Vijñāna here means the first jhana citta, the first one. And then Anancha means infinite, so the infinite citta that he was contemplating at. And Ayatana, here again, meaning object. So the second Arūpāvacara jhana, which is called Vijñāna Nanca Yatana, takes the first Arūpāvacara jhana citta as its object. So here, actually, it is not a concept, it is an ultimate reality in this case, because he's taking this citta, the consciousness, as its object. Okay, now this is the second Rūpāvacara jhana. Now, what happens when a person wants to continue practicing to attain the third Arūpāvacara jhana? This time, the meditator, he takes the absence of of all the nothingness of the first Arūpāvacara citta as its object. So the first. Okay, now from the very beginning, the first Arūpāvacara jhana citta, he takes the infinite space as his object, right? Then the second Arūpāvacara jhana takes the citta that contemplates on that infinite space as its object. Okay, now the third Arūpāvacara jhana, when the present want to practice that, he takes the absence of that jhana citta, So now he also takes like in the Rūpāvacara jhana, he doesn't take the sign anymore. Instead, he takes the absence of the sign, right? So this time instead of taking the first jhana citta, first Arūpāvacara citta as the object, he takes the absence of it as his object. So taking the nothingness of the first Arūpāvacara as object, he keeps contemplating and contemplating. Nothingness. So nothing of what? Nothing of the first Arūpāvacara jhana citta, not there anymore. Okay, so to some point, the third Arūpāvacara jhana arises in him, and this is called Akinca Yatana. Kinca here means something. Akinca means no something. So the object here, no something, meaning the object of nothingness. No, so nothingness or the absence of the first Arūpāvacara citta is the object taken by the third Arūpāvacara jhana. Okay. Okay. Then for the meditator, if he wants to continue going to the fourth Arūpāvacara jhana, then this time he takes the third Arūpāvacara jhana citta as his object, and he contemplates on that citta, saying to himself, oh, this is so peaceful, this is so peaceful, this is so peaceful, because this is so peaceful and good because it can even take nothingness as its object. So it is so calm. And then at some point, the fourth Arūpāvacara jhana citta, which is called Neva Sanya Nasanya Yatana citta, arises in him. Now here, let's see this Pali word. Neva means not. Sanya means perception. Na sanya, no perception. So actually here, this sanya refers to all mental factors. It actually means the mental activity, not only sanya itself. But sanya is taken like like the representative or mental activity here, no? So in this case, when a person reached this jhana, the mental activity in this jhana has become so subtle and so refined, then it is difficult to call it mental activity even. But there are still some mental activity present there, no? And so although it is so subtle and almost nothing, there is still the function of sanya, the function of the mental activity, a little bit is still there. So therefore it is called neda sanya, no sanya, no? Neva sanya, na sanya. And this is like very subtle, something like just a trace of activity is still there, but almost nothing. So one example that is given by our teachers to understand this in a better way, he said it is like when you look at this water bottle, if you ask a person who is very thirsty and he wants to drink water, what would he say? Is there any water in the bottle? He would say, no, there is nothing to drink, right? Is there water? Because he's so thirsty. Like this is not enough for drinking, like, right? So there is no water here for drinking. If you say, oh, there's no water. But if you ask the person which want to use this water bottle to keep some dry beans, let's say. So if you ask, is there water in the bottle? Then say, yes, it is wet. I cannot keep the beans inside, right? So there is water. But if you want to drink, we may say, no, there is no water. So it's like there is, but there is not. So in this case, so it's like neither water nor no water. So in the same way, so neva, not sanya, perception, no na sanya, no perception. So neither perception nor non-perception is the name of this Arūpāvacara, the fourth Arūpāvacara citta here. Okay, so as a recap, that we have seen the four kinds of Rūpāvacara citta, the citta of the non-material plane, the kusala citta here, while the person is practicing. So Akasanyanchayatana takes the first Arūpāvacara jhana, citta, takes infinite space as its object. The second one, Vijñānanyanchayatana, takes the first Arūpāvacara, sorry, here, and A is extra here. First Arūpāvacara citta, infinite vijnana, here as object. Then the third one, Akinchanyayatana, non-existence of the first vijnana, is the object of the third Arūpāvacara jhana. Then the fourth one, neva sanya na sanya yatana, takes the third Arūpāvacara citta, neither perception nor non-perception as its object. Okay, is it clear? It can be a little bit complicated here because these are the concepts or the objects for the Arūpāvacara jhana. Okay, yes, Claudia.
So basically, for when you are in the Rūpāvacara citta, the last one, the fifth one, and then you need to pass, you're going to pass to the non-material plane. It seems that the way you explain is look like that you need to be in the jhana to pass through the other jhana. It's not like before that you finish and you come out and you have an intention, because you need to have the object crystal clear in order to then go to the infinite space. Is that correct?
No, because
or is the same.
It's the same. When the person gets the first Arūpāvacara jhana, then he has to be very good in it. He has to practice a lot, be very good at it. Then he comes out, and then he wants to get to a higher level. Then he can practice again, taking a different object. So he actually comes out from that jhana, and then he practices again, taking the other object. The second jhana, now the first one, he takes infinite space, right? Then next time, then he takes the first Arūpāvacara citta, the citta, which actually is this one.
Yes. Yeah,
so
no, this one I understand everything, but what I don't understand is how do you do the switch between Arūpa and Rūpa? Sorry, between Rūpa and Arūpa. How do you come out from Arūpāvacara and then you Another session.
Yeah, I understand your question now. So when the person he is very, very good at the 5th jhana already, right? Then he wants to get the Arūpāvacara Citta. So the first time before he attained the first Arūpāvacara jhana Citta, he practiced as if he was practicing to attain the 5th Rūpāvacara jhana, but he does not enter to the Rūpāvacara jhana. So when his image, let's say the case of the earth disk, so he's practicing, and then when he sees that the image are like polished mirror, so shiny, that image, then he stopped focusing on that mirror. Instead, because if he wants to enter 5th jhana, he continue focusing on that mirror, right? But now he stopped focusing on that mirror, and instead he focused on the space taken by that mirror. So then the mirror disappeared, and then there is an empty space. Then he focused on that empty space now. The empty space expand. And in his mind, he's thinking infinite space, and that becomes his object. And when he reaches that degree of concentration, then the first Arūpāvacara jhana arises in him.
All right. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Yes, Edith.
I wanted to ask if they have to repeat this mantra all the time, like infinite space,
according
infinite
to
consciousness.
Yeah, according to the instructions of how it is practiced, the person in his mind, he keep concentrating on this object, thinking about that object. So I don't know actually if he does say that infinite space like that, or whether he just concentrate everything on the infinite space. Yeah, I can ask my teacher whether he actually have to say it, but I don't actually think so. But he has to concentrate on that his object.
Okay, and no matter so. These Arūpāvacara jhanas only occur if the meditative takes these specific objects, no other.
No other, yes, only with these specific objects. Right. Okay. Yes. Now let's look at the next slide, and it will be quite clear also. Now, if we compare the Rūpāvacara Cittas and the Arūpāvacara Kusala Cittas, now here we're talking about. So Rūpāvacara Cittas, the Citta of the 5 material planes, you see, then we have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th jhana, and its object can be different. It can be anapana, it can be earth disk, kasina, it can be the color, it can be space, right, and lights, like that. So objects can be different. But then the jhana, what makes them different are the jhana factors. Right, so the first jhana, first Rūpāvacara jhana have 5 mental factors, right? 5, I mean not mental factors, sorry, jhana factors. So the second only have 4, the third only have 3, and then the 4th have sukha and ekagata, and the 5th one have upekkha and ekagata. No, so what differentiates the level of the jhana are the jhana factors. But here in the Arūpāvacara Cittas, you can see that the mental factors, jhananga, does not change anymore. It's like the highest of the 5th jhana here is the same. Upekkha and ekagata is there. Now, what makes the difference of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th jhana are actually the objects. What objects it takes. So the finer the object, the higher degree of jhana. Remember the jhana, when the object is very subtle, then the mind is also very subtle, right? Because they match each other, yeah? So for the infinite space, the 1st jhana citta takes infinite space as its meditative object. Then the second one, even more refined, it takes the citta that takes infinite space as its object. Then now the third one, more refined, it takes the absence of the 1st jhana citta as its object. And the 4th one takes the 3rd jhana citta itself as its object. So it's getting more and more refined in this case. So what differentiates the first to the fourth jhana in the Arūpāvacara Cittas are the objects, while in the Rūpāvacara are the jhana factors. Is that clear? Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, so last time we talked about a little bit about the temperament also, and then the 40 meditative subject, right? We have the subjects, 40 subjects, then we have the temperaments, and then we have the which kind of jhana it can attain to. So this graphic I've already sent to you through the chat group. You might have seen it. So here I just wanted to briefly introduce a little bit. This table, you can find it in the Abhidhamma Sangha, table 9.1. Okay, if you have the book. Okay, now, so let's take a look. For the kasina, there are 10 kasinas object, the earth, water, fire, air, then the color kasinas, blue, yellow, red, and white, and space and light. So now here, coming back to here, I also want to address another questions which came up last week about the colors. Remember whether we said that why are only these colors available, right? So actually it's blue, yellow, red, and white. So when I asked my teacher, then he says that there is actually not a very specific explanation of why, but we believe that because in the time of the Buddha, when teachers explains in this way, right? He says that for the 2,600 years ago, it's not easy to have like printed cards like we have now. All kinds of colors are available. No? So people, when they want to do this color meditation, they actually have to go collect some flowers, for example. They collect some white flowers or collect some red flowers, and then they take the petals and then they put it on a plate and then they contemplate on it. So those are the colors that are easily found, like the white flowers, yellow flowers, or like something that they can find easily and at those times. So this is the reason that he explained why these colors are listed here in the kasinas. Okay, so as we can see with the kasina objects are actually very good. You see that if we practice on them, actually we can attain from the first to the fifth jhana. All of them are possible. Then the next one, we have 10 asubhas. The asubhas, then you see, if you will practice on the asubha practice, only first jhana, only the highest we can attain only first jhana, not more than that, because that involved a lot of analysis or the mind. Oh, the mind is a little bit busy, so it cannot go higher than the first jhana. Now, the reflections of the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, it can actually goes to a high level of concentration, but not it cannot lead to any kind of jhana. Okay, now let's see the other ones. Also, these ones are the recollections. The recollections here only for the body, this asubha practice of the body. Sorry, it is not asubha practice. This is here for the recollection of the body. It can attain only to the first, but anapana here, anapana is also a very good one. That it can attain first to the fifth jhana, also possible. Okay. That's anapana. And then let's see the 4 illimitables, the 4 Brahmaviharas, no? The metta. For metta, we can go to first until the 4th. Interesting, right? Because with metta, it actually makes us happy, no? Sukha, it's still there. That with metta for other being, the mind is glad, no? So Vedana is still sukha here. So therefore, we cannot attain to 5th jhana, because as you remember, the 5th jhana, Rūpāvacara jhana, is only with upekkha and ekaggata, right? So therefore, only the practice of equanimity here, upekkha, can lead to the 5th jhana only because of this. So if a person practices the Brahmavihara and then he attains the 1st or to the 4th jhana with either with metta, with karuna, or with mudita, later, if he wants to continue to the 5th jhana, he must change to upekkha. Contemplate on upekkha for the 5th jhana to arise in this case. Okay. All right, then we have the perception of food as loathsome, then analysis of the 4 elements. Also, these 2 cannot lead to any jhana. Then, now this one, the immaterial states, the ones that we just saw right now, Arūpāvacara. So infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, nevasanya, nasanya. So this, you see, is specific here. The subject of meditation, the object is specific here, so it cannot change. If we want to attain to the first Arūpāvacara jhana, we must take this as object. So this is first, second, third, and fourth. Yes, Edith, you have a question?
Actually, 2 questions. First is what happens if someone with a different temperament practices a specific topic that it's not suitable for them? And the other one is like, how do you determine the temperament? Is it just a teacher that can tell you?
Well, now, okay. First of all, I would like to say what I have heard from my meditation teacher. So he says that actually, although we say that there are faithful temperament, lustful temperament, deluded or discursive, the hateful and like that, but actually we all have all, right? So it is just that the degree is different. Maybe a person can have a more lobha, but it doesn't mean that he has no dosa, right? So, well, not that a person have, but then that he, let's say, because this does not belong to us, no, we should rather say that it is more easy for those kind of Cittas to arise, or those tendencies to arise in that person. So he has more tendency for dosa, let's say, or he has more tendency for lobha, like, let's say, no. So actually, first of all, our teacher says that we all have some of those. So actually, you can also practice depending on what you need. For example, today, the person is feeling so angry, then he can, although usually he is an intellectual person, but today he's very angry, then maybe that day he can practice metta, right? So in that way, it can also work that way. And now, then I think there is no wrong subject as such that it is so wrong that it is not good for your practice, no? So maybe there could be when a person attains to a certain level, maybe when we are talking about very, very refined time, then there could be more suitable object, just like in the time of the Buddha, when the person got instruction from Venerable Sariputta that he didn't get because he didn't get to arahantship because the way he was practicing was not suitable for him. But only the Buddha can know what exactly is suitable for each person. So not even an arahant, not even the second the highest wisdom, no, Venerable Sariputta is the second to the Buddha, no, in terms of wisdom. So not even Venerable Sariputta, no. So it is very hard to say exactly what is the right exact thing for each person, no. But we can only use this as a guide. For example, we know ourselves. Sometimes we know how we are, no. So this is just suggestions and guidance. Yeah, I can only say like, yeah, yes.
So I just wanna to say that I do know a list where all these temperaments are described by how they eat and how they walk and how they sit and how they stand and how they sweep the, I don't know, with the broom. And I think that's pretty just one way that one person is, that cannot be mixed.
Yes, I think it's in the Visuddhimagga. As Eddie said, that it is very precisely, it says that how they eat, for example, like a greedy person, he eat like a mouthful, like how big the mouthful is, or like if a hateful person, how small or how big, or like this, not how the person eat, how the person walk, and all these details. I think all these are just like suggestions or reference, no? So yeah, as Edith said, then this information, if you are interested, you can find them in the Visuddhimagga also. Like he described how the person, like this type of person is most probably this type of like. I think also another way is like we can try out those meditative objects by ourselves and see which one we feel comfortable with. For example, some person for Anapana, it's very natural. It comes very natural to the person, and he practiced with very easily. But some person cannot concentrate on the breath. He thinks concentrating on something else is easier for him. So I also think not just the personality, but also what one have practiced throughout samsara. No, like in previous life, if the person is familiar with Anapana, then maybe this object is easy for him or her. Then if the person is very used to metta, then maybe metta can very easily bring his mind to concentration. So also we have to try different kinds and see what works for us. Okay. All right. So let's continue now. Okay. So now we have come to finished with the Arūpāvacara Kusala Citta, no? The Cittas of the non-material, wholesome Citta of the non-material plane. Okay. So in the same way, we also have Vipaka Citta, which are the resultant Cittas, direct result of those jhana practice, right? And then we have the Kriya Cittas. Okay, now let's talk about the Vipaka Cittas. With the Arūpāvacara Kusala Cittas, so when a person meditates and then he attains the first, second, third, or fourth Arūpāvacara jhana, when this person passed away in this life, then what happens is that the same vibration it leads to, because the seed, remember the seed is identical in this case with the fruit. So the identical Cittas here, first, second, and third, and fourth, Vipaka Citta arise in him with the same kind of jhanangas, with the same let's say same refinement, or same type of citta arised as the Vipaka Citta of this person when he passed away. So what happened is that with this rebirth consciousness, actually these ones are rebirth consciousness when he passed away, then this result of his jhana will bring him to the next life. So with this result, then this person will be born into the 4 non-material planes. So this person who died with the jhana intact, meaning that he can still access the jhana throughout his life, then he will only be reborn into the 4 non-material planes as a Brahman. He will not be reborn into the other realms. Okay, so that's why these 4 Arūpāvacara Vipaka Citta only arise in the 4 non-material plane. It cannot arise in any other plane other than the 4 non-material plane. Okay. Okay. Now, then we finish with the Vipaka Citta. Then we have only the Arūpāvacara Kriya Cittas left. Okay, as we said, this is easy to understand. That's when a totally enlightened person practice the Arūpāvacara jhanas. No, so we also here we have the first, second, third, and fourth jhana. Okay, so here we have finished the 12 types of Arūpāvacara Cittas, 4 Kusala, 4 Vipaka, and 4 Kriya Cittas. Okay, now Arūpāvacara Cittas and the Rūpāvacara Cittas, they actually, these 2 categories, they have another name. They are also called the Mahāgata Cittas, meaning sublime Cittas. Sometimes you can find this Mahāgata, this word, in different texts or in the Abhidhamma itself. Mahāgata Cittas, they are actually the meaning sublime, lofty, or very high consciousness, because they are free from the hindrances and are pure, elevated, and they are great states of mind. Okay, so when you see the word Mahāgata Cittas, then you understand that it refers to Rūpāvacara and Arūpāvacara Cittas. Okay, but still they are still under the Lokiya Citta. They are still mundane Cittas. Okay, so now looking at Lokiya Citta itself, these are all the Cittas that we have already studied, actually. The Lokiya Citta is divided into 2 groups, Kamavachara Cittas and Mahāgata Cittas. So in Kamavachara, we have akusala cittas, ahetuka cittas, rootless consciousness. Then we have also this beautiful consciousness, and then they are further divided into the types that we have already seen. Then Arūpāvacara cittas, we have the kusala, the vipaka, and the kriya. Arūpāvacara as well, same way, kusala, vipaka, and kriya cittas. So here with this, up till now, we have finished all of this kind of mundane cittas already, Lokuttara cittas. So all of this, although this Arūpāvacara cittas is very high and sublime, but they are still in samsara. So that means that even a person, even if he is reborn into the highest level of the non-material plane, when that life is finished, then it's possible for him to be reborn into the other realm. He can go down, and sometimes eventually become human again, or depends on his action and karma, it can even go to the 4 lower realms. That means the door to the dugati, to the unhappy destination, is not closed. So still, it is still inside samsara, is still possible. Only when a person attains at least the first stage of enlightenment, will the door to the 4 lower planes be closed. And now, in the next section, we are going to look at those kind of cittas, the Lokuttara cittas, which are the cittas that takes nibbana as object. Okay, yes, Edith and Chie, let's see.
Okay, I just wanted to ask about the resultants, the vipaka cittas for Arūpāvacara and Arūpāvacara. So you said, I never really understood. So is it like the person has to be in jhana in the time of his death, or it's not necessary? Because it's always mentioned like they don't lose their ability to access these jhanas, but I don't really understand why. Like, how do you know if in the time of that they had this ability?
Mm-hmm. This is just in general. If the person is very familiar with the jhana, if he is still able to enter and come out as he wish, if he still has this ability in his lifetime, then that means that he still have the jhana intact. And when he passed away, everyone as a human being, the death process in chapter 4, we are going to look at the death process. So everybody goes through the death process in order to finish this lifetime and to be reborn into the next lifetime. So the death process must arise. And if a person is in jhana absorption, the death process cannot arise during jhana. So it is definitely that the person is not in jhana while when he passed away, right? Even the person maybe he can be in jhana, then if he passed away, he must definitely come out, and then the death process can arise to die, right? Okay, so it doesn't mean that the person that he has to practice or he has to be in jhana before he actually passed away, but it just means that he didn't lose his jhana. Losing his jhana means that maybe a person in his lifetime, and then he practiced once, and then he attained the first Arūpāvacara jhana, but then later in the next 50 years, he never practiced again. So and that time it is difficult, not easy for him to get that jhana again. He never practiced for so long, so he lost his ability of getting that jhana again. So in that case, that might be considered as the jhana is lost. So after he passed away, he might not be reborn into the Arūpāvacara or the Arūpāvacara realm in those cases. But if he throughout his life he keep practicing and he can enter and come out and easily as he wished, then that means that his jhana is still intact.
So I guess it's about the habit, right? Like how many times, how often it was accessed. Because I'm just thinking, like if you have like a resultant or kusala resultant, so what's stopping that giving a rebirth result instead of a jhana, for example? Or is it like the jhana, if you have the jhanas, that's more possible to result in rebirth, or it's just whatever randomly?
Yeah, not exactly because of habitual. Now, this is also something that we will look at in further chapters. In further chapters, when we look at karma, we are going to see what kind of karma gives result first when we die, right? So in the time of death, like what kind of karma, what is the order of the karma giving result? So at that time, it will be clear. But jhana is also a big one. Garuka karma, well, I think it is included. I have to recheck it, but I think it is included. So in that case, because of that, so it is surely the first one to come out. Okay, yes, Chie.
I am wondering if it is useful to be born in these non-material planes. I've heard that, the lifespans are very long and you can't practice in these. So I'm wondering, in this day and age, is it useful to have this gap and then to be reborn again, and perhaps at a time when there is no teachings?
Great question. Okay. Now, it depends for that individual. If the person, he has already attained a certain stage of enlightenment, so that means at least the first stage of enlightenment, he's a Sotapanna. Then if he is reborn into the Arupa realm, that's okay for him, because he can still attain Nibbana there. Because he's already, he already has the Dhamma. He already entered the stream. So he got the Dhamma already. He doesn't have to learn again from someone, because to get the first stage of enlightenment, to become a Sotapanna, we must listen to the Dhamma. We must learn the Dhamma from someone. So in the suttas it said one must hear, one must listen, or one must see, right? So let's say read a book or listen to the Dhamma. But as Chia said, in the non-material realm, they have no drupa, so they cannot hear anything, they cannot see anything. So for a person who have not attained at least the first stage of enlightenment, then if they are reborn into those realm, then they cannot get enlightened there until they get back to at least the Arūpāvacara realm. So in that case, that would not be a very good idea, because as Chia said, the lifespan is so long. And then there they have, although the life is very peaceful, but they're still in samsara, and there is no chance to listen to the Dhamma or to practice there if they don't know the Dhamma already. So for those individuals, it is kind of not recommended. But if a person has already attained at least the first stage, then that's okay for them. All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so that's Arūpāvacara Citta and Arūpāvacara Citta. And moving further, we are going to the Lokuttara Cittas that takes Nibbana as object. Okay, so I think maybe we can take a little break here, and then we will continue with the Lokuttara Cittas when we come back. So let's continue with the Lokuttara Cittas. Now, Lokuttara Cittas are the supramundane Cittas. Let's take a look at the Pali word, Loku and Uttara. Loku means the world or the five aggregates, and Uttara means transcending that which is beyond. So Lokuttara means transcending the world of the five aggregates. So that means these are the Cittas that transcends the five aggregates. Now we have to know first, what is the five aggregates, right? What does it mean by the five aggregates? Now in conventional reality, we usually think that this is I, this is me, I am this, I am that, and so we have an idea of ourselves, who we are. But in ultimate reality, what we call I, what we call myself, is actually just a combination of mind and matter, right? Okay, so now in the explanations, in the Buddha's teaching, there are different kinds of explaining about mind and matter. Because some people, for them, if you say mind and matter, then it's easy, then they already know, oh, okay, mind and matter, then they understand it. But then there are some people that they need a little bit more explanation. For example, for the mind, for the part of the mind, there's some people, they might need a little bit more explanation. So they need to understand that mind is actually a combination of citta and cetasika. So as we have already studied a little bit, so these are different types of cittas and there are different kinds of mental factors. And so these two, the combination of these two is what we call nama, or they call mind. So for some people, then they need a little bit more information. So the Buddha, instead of 1, 2, then he explained in a little bit more detailed way. But then there are still other people that still need a little bit more information. So in that case, then the Buddha further explained that the cetasikas are further divided into different categories. Now we have Vedana, the mental feeling, and we have Sanya, perception, and we have Sankhara, mental formation. And then we have Rupa. So now you see we have actually 1, 2, no, same thing, or 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, right here. But then this citta is also another one here. So it is 5 actually, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Vedana in this case, citta is the synonymous Vedana, right? So here called Vedana. But Kanda means the aggregate or group. So in this case, we have this mind is further divided into the Vedana Kanda, the aggregate of consciousness, Vijnana Kanda, the aggregate of consciousness, the Vedana Kanda, the aggregate of mental feeling, Sanya Kanda, the aggregate of perception, and Sankhara Kanda, the aggregate of mental formation. And Rupa is called the aggregate of metta, no, Rupa Kanda. So in this case, it is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But actually, we are still talking about the same thing. So it's only nama and rupa, only mind and metta. These are only further classifications. I mean, further dividing them into with further details. So these 5 aggregates in Pali is called pancha kanda, right? Pancha means 5, and kanda means group. So the group of 5. Of the group of which 5? The group of the Vijnana, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Rupa. So this is called the 5 aggregates. So actually, we are still talking about nama and rupa, right? Okay. Now let's take a look at the mind, the part of the mind. This part can actually be further divided. As we see, this citta, vijnana, kanda, what are they in ultimate reality? Actually, they are the 89 or the 121 types of cittas, the ones that we are studying right now, right? So all these types of cittas, different cittas, are included in the vijnana kanda, the aggregate of consciousness. And what about Vedana? This is inside the group of Cettasika. No? So Vedana, mental feeling, is one of the Cettasika, one of the 52 Cettasikas. And Sanya is also one of the 52 Cettasikas. And what about Sankhara? Sankhara is actually all the other Cettasikas. So 50 of them are included in the Sankhara group. So 50 plus 1 plus 1, altogether there are 52 Cettasikas. So we may say, why when only Vedana and Sanya is divided into one group? Then why not the others? So actually, because this Vedana is very important for our practice to observe the Vedana, and Sanya is also important in this case. So I think these ones are being picked out for because they are important. So for the practice also, no? Even Sanya, you see, Sanya sometimes are also the representative of all other Sankharas, right? Right now we saw Neva Sanya, Na Sanya. This Sanya, only mentioning Sanya means also other mental factors. But here, Sanya is considered one group, Vedana one group, and Sankhara, or the remaining 50, are in one group. So here 4. So 89 and 121 cittas and 52 cettasikas. And then Rupa, how about Rupa? Rupa are actually referring to the 28 types of metta, which we are going to look at in chapter 6. So as you can see, all we are studying here in the Abhidhamma in the first few chapters are the first chapter, the 81 or 189 or 121 Cittas, 52 Chaitasikas in chapter 2. Then we're going to look at 28 types of matter in chapter 6. So all this we're looking at is actually just Nama and Rupa. So now these 5 khandhas are actually same thing, Nama and Rupa, but different classification. Okay, so what we call ourselves are actually Nama and Rupa, or we may say Citta, Cittasikas and Rupa, or we can say the 5 khandhas, the 5 aggregates. Okay, so going back into the supramundane citta, the loku, meaning the world, or the 5 aggregates here, the direct translation, loku here means world, but actually it wants to refer to the 5 aggregates. Then uttara, transcending that which is beyond. So lokuttara, transcending the 5 aggregates, actually means those cittas that transcends mind and matter. Then actually, what does it want to say? These are the types of cittas, are actually enlightenment cittas. So Lokuttara cittas arise when a person attains enlightenment. Okay, so let's take a look. This type of cittas are actually enlightenment cittas. And what happens? And what are those enlightenment cittas? Which ones are they? So they are called the Magga cittas and the Phala cittas. Magga means path. So Magga cittas are translated as the path consciousness, and Phala cittas, the fruition consciousness. And what do they take as object? They take Nibbana as object. Okay, and what does one have to do for this cittas to arise, or when does this cittas actually arise? So when the 8 factors in the Noble Eightfold Path that arise, when they are fulfilled, then this Magga and Phala citta arise through the practice of Vipassana meditation. So these 8 path factors, what are they? The Magganga are actually the Noble Eightfold Path. No, you might all have heard about it. So what are the Noble Eightfold Path? Just briefly, let's look at it. First one, right view. Then we have right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So these are the Noble Eightfold Path, the 8 factors. These 8 factors must be fulfilled in order for the Magga cittas to arise. Now, in this Noble Eightfold Path, they are further divided into 3 categories. We have also talked about this previously. They are actually Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, the 3 practices that we need to do. But this group is the Sila group, and then we have the Samadhi group, and then we have the Panya group. Okay, so these 8 factors are called, from the Panya group, we have right view, right thought. Sila group, we have right speech, right action, right livelihood. Samadhi, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These 8 are called the 8 path factors, or Magganga, which are actually the Noble Eightfold Path. No? So let's repeat a little bit. In the Panya group, we have right view and right thought. Sila group, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And right effort, mindfulness, and concentration here is included in Samadhi. So when these three group of the 8 factors are fulfilled, then Magga citta arise. Then after Magga citta, which is the path consciousness, then Phala citta, which is the fruition consciousness, is actually the resultant consciousness of Magga citta, will arise. So in the Lokuttara citta, supramundane cittas, they're actually divided into 2 groups only. Magga citta, which its function is to eradicate the defilements, and we have the result of the Magga citta, which is called the Phala citta. Okay, so now here, as we know that the stages of enlightenment are divided into 4 stages. So here we have 4 kinds of Magga cittas: the first stage, second stage, third stage, and 4th stage. And in the Phala citta, we also have 4 first stage, second stage, third stage, and fourth stage of enlightenment. So these 8 are called Lokuttara Cittas, supramundane Cittas. Okay, now please give me 30 seconds here, because suppose we are going to have a break just here. So I have to skip a little bit of the slide. Okay, so now let's look at the 4 stages of the enlightenment. The first one is called Sotapaddi, second one Sakadagami, and then the third one Anagami, and the 4th stage. So now we are going to look at them one by one and see their characteristics and how they are. Okay, Sotapaddi. The word Sota means a stream. Actually, here refers to the Noble Eightfold Path, and Apati means reaching for the first time. So Sotapaddi, actually, it means stream entry. So when this Noble Eightfold Path, here are called the Sota, the stream. So once we get into that stream, one is sure to reach Nibbana. There is no going back. So it's just like all the streams or the rivers leads to the ocean. So once we are there, then we will surely arrive to final attainment to Nibbana. So that's the first stage of enlightenment. Now, how about the second stage of enlightenment? The second stage of enlightenment is called Sakadagami. Sakadagami, in this Pali word, if we separate them, Saka means once. Agami means the one who comes back. Now, returned or comes back to what? That's the question, right? The one who comes back once. To what? Here it means return. Here the return or coming back means coming back to the sense sphere or the plane where the person attained the second stage of enlightenment. Here the Sakadagami is the second stage of enlightenment, right? So let's read again. Return means coming back to the sense sphere or to the plane where that person attained the second stage of enlightenment. So, for example, if a person, he attains the once returner, the Sakadagami path consciousness and Phala consciousness as a human being, then in this lifetime, he did not attain further enlightenment in this stage, in this life, let's say. Then he passed away, and then after this human life, then he may be reborn in the celestial realm as a deva, and then he will pass away in that deva realm, and then he will be reborn again as a human being. And in that case, and in this time, then he will attain Nibbana in that life. That's in the case when he comes back to the plane where he attained the second stage of enlightenment, because he attained it as a human being, remember? So as a human being, he attained the second stage of enlightenment. Then when he passed away, say if he was reborn into the Deva realm, then after that lifetime, he didn't attain further enlightenment, and then he returns back to the human plane where he attained the second stage of enlightenment. He was reborn there again. And in that lifetime, then he attained enlightenment there in the human world. Let's say in this example, no? So once returner, meaning that he will come back only for once in order to be reborn in, but in order for him to return, then he must be reborn into another realm before he can come back and attain enlightenment, no? But for example, this person, he might be, it is also possible that he was reborn, he attained enlightenment in the Deva realm, and then he was reborn in the Deva realm, and then he attains enlightenment there in the next life. That's also possible. So meaning returning to the sense sphere or returning to where he attained enlightenment. So in this case, meaning the Deva realm or the human realm. Okay, now for the third stage of enlightenment, which is called the Anagami, An here means not. Agami means the one who comes back. So not coming back, that means the non-returner. And not returning or not coming back to what? Here, the not returning means not coming back to the sense sphere. So an Anagami person, if he the person who attained the third stage of enlightenment, if he passed away as an anagami, as a non-returner, then he will not be reborn into the sense realm, sense sphere, the Kamavachara anymore. So he will only be reborn into either the fine material plane or the non-material plane. Then usually, anagami, usually they are reborn into the fine material planes in the Suddhavasa. But it is also possible, if they wish to be reborn into the non-material plane, it is also possible. But most of the time, they are reborn into the fine material plane in the Suddhavasa. And so they will never come back to the Kamavachara sense sphere, and then they will attain final liberation, final enlightenment in the higher realms. Okay. Now, let's go to the fourth stage of enlightenment. That's Arahata. The word actually comes from Ari and Hunt. And Ari means enemy. Here, the enemy refers to mental defilements. And Hunt means to kill or to destroy. So one who has destroyed or eliminated or eradicated all mental defilements are called an Arahat. Yes, Amar has a question.
Yes. For Sotapatti and Satkagami, can they reborn into the Arūpāvacara and Arūpāvacara realm?
If they can be reborn into the Arupa or Arūpāvacara realm?
Yeah.
Yes, if they practice jhana, yes.
So then they have to come back to the sense realm, right? Yeah, for them, right?
For the Sotapanna, no. Sotapanna, they lived a maximum of 7 lifetimes, and then they can attain the arahataship in any of the next lives in the other realms as well.
Oh, okay. In the Arūpāvacara and Arūpāvacara also they can
possible. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Edith.
It's just such a weird rule for the Sakadagami to have to come back to the same realm. I never heard of that.
Actually, he doesn't have to come back to the same realm. It is possible that he attains, well, it is once returner, meaning that he returns to the sense sphere for one more time and attain final liberation there. That it does not mean that he must attain actually, there are lots of different ways, but the name itself, once returner, meaning returning to what? Returning to the sense sphere. That's the meaning. But that it does not mean that he must come back here to get enlightenment. So there are many different possibilities. Say the person is he attained the second stage of enlightenment as a human being. And then he passed away. He didn't attain higher in that lifetime. Then he passed away. Next life, he was reborn into the Deva realm. Then he attained enlightenment, full enlightenment there possible, because it is in the sense sphere, right? Still in the sense sphere, returning to the sense sphere. Or he can or if he was a human being, then he was reborn as a Deva, and there he did not attain further higher stage of enlightenment. Then he reborn as a human again, and there he attained full enlightenment possible. So there are many different ways. So for example, also then maybe that person he attained second stage of enlightenment as a human being, then he became a Deva, and there he attained the third stage of enlightenment and no further. Then surely he will be reborn into the fine material for his next life, because he is already an anagami in that lifetime. So next time, then he will be in the fine material planes to attain the final liberation. So there are so many possibilities depending on different cases. But here we are explaining the name of once returner, return to what, and non-returner, not returning to what. Yeah, okay. All right, yes, Claudia.
So then it's possible that we are Sotapanna without knowing it, or
Not possible. If we are, we
Not
should surely
possible.
know. Yes, not possible. If we don't
yes,
know,
okay.
if we don't know, then the most highest probability is we are not.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, because why do I say so? Because later on, when we study the mental process, we will know after the enlightenment process, there is a reviewing process. In the reviewing process, a person, he checks what kind of mental quality he has and what kind of defilement he has already eradicated. So he is sure that he has already eradicated these defilements and he has already attained this kind of quality. In the reviewing process, he must know. So if we don't know that, we have not arrived there yet. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's get back to talking about the fourth stage of enlightenment, the arahats. So one who destroyed and eliminated all the mental defilements are called an arahat. And for an arahat, now really samsara is finished. No more samsara. He will not be reborn into any realm anymore, because there is no more conditions for a rebirth. So that's the final goal, right? Okay. Okay, so for Lokuttara Cittas, now we have seen that we have first stage, second stage, third, and fourth. And then the first Magga Citta actually takes the name of the first stage. So it's called Sotapanna Magga. And the Phala Citta takes also the name of the first stage. So Sotapanna Phala. Second, Sakadami Magga, Sakadami Phala is the name of the Citta. Anagami Magga, Anagami Phala, and Arahata Magga and Arahata Phala. So now we have 8 types of Lokuttara Cittas here. Okay, yes, I see that Amar has a question.
Yeah, so just after the passing away of Arahant, right? Is there like any suggestion that they also go to some sort of other realm, like, you know, beyond samsara?
According to the Buddha's teaching, no. According to the Buddha's teaching, there is no more condition for mind and matter to arise. So it just does not arise anymore. The example given by the teachers are like, because during the time of the Buddha, there are people who ask, like, what happened to the Buddha after he passed away? Where he goes, right? Where he goes. So the teachers explains that asking this question is like asking, where does the fire go when it is burned out? Say when we go camping, then we build a fire pit, and then there is no more firewood, and then the fire is burned out. So there is no more fire. Then if we ask, where is the fire gone? Then the fire didn't go anywhere. There is just no conditions for fire to arise, right? The fire does not disappear. So in the same way, that this is just an example or a simile, you know, not exactly, not exactly, but in the same way. So it is not gone anywhere. There is just no condition for mind and matter to arise anymore.
Okay.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so now we see that we have 8 types of Lokuttara Cittas, and with this, we have actually finished all types of Cittas that are possible, according to the Abhidhamma Sangha. Okay, now let's take a look of here. We see 81 Cittas or 121 Cittas, right? So finally, we come to the day to solve this mystery. Why is there 89 or 121? So here we have to do some calculations. This actually have to do with the Lokuttara Cittas. Now, Magga Cittas, path consciousness, we see that we have Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahata, right? So if a person who attains the first, second, third, or fourth stage enlightenment, and at the same time, he also has first, second, third, or fifth jhana, Arūpāvacara jhana in this case. This Arūpāvacara jhana also included in the fifth because the jhanangas is also just only two now, remember? The upeka and ekagata. That type of chitta, just the object is different, right? Okay, so here 5 jhanas. So if a Sotapaddi Magga has a first jhana, or has a second, or has a third, or has a fourth, or has a fifth, then here we make a calculation that's 5 chittas altogether. Right? So a person who has attained the first stage of enlightenment, and then he has also the first jhana. Okay, let's put it this way. I see some faces like this. What? Like, okay. So, okay, let's put it this way. A person who is a samatha yanika, let's say. So this person, he practiced first samatha and then he attained the first jhana. Then later he practiced vipassana and then he attained Sotapaddi Magga. So the Sotapaddi Magga, this enlightenment chitta, can sometimes be considered a different one because he has the quality of the first jhana. Although he is not in jhana, but this person has the quality of the first jhana. So if we consider that way, then this is one type of Sotapaddi Magga chitta. And the ones who has the quality of the second jhana can be a little bit different. The third one, the one that has a third jhana, a little bit different. So in this case, one Sotapaddi Magga chitta, we can say that whoever with or without jhana that attained the first stage of enlightenment, the Sotapaddi Magga chitta arises, right? But whether this person has this quality as well makes it a little bit different. So if we consider this way, then this Sotapaddi Magga chitta can be, instead of 1, can be 5. Is that clear? Because of the jhana, okay? So for Sakadagami, same way, whether the person has this jhana quality or not. So again, then we have 20. So again, we have another 5. So 5 times 4 here, then we have, instead of 4 Magga chitta, if we consider the jhana quality as well, then we have 20 Magga chittas here. Okay. So for Phala chitta as well, because it is the direct identical result of the Magga chitta, right? So they must be identical. So if we consider that 5, then this also is 5. So in this case, also we get 20 Phala chittas. Therefore, in this case, for the 8 Lokuttara chittas, we have to multiply them with the 5 jhanas. So that makes 40 chittas. So therefore, in this case, we have either we consider to be 8 Lokuttara chittas, only 4 Magga and 4 Phala, or we considered Magga chitta to be 20 and Phala chitta to be 20, so that makes a 40. So therefore, it comes the difference between whether it's 89 or 121 types of chitta. Okay, the 81, if we consider the 81 if we consider the 89, that means we have altogether 81 Lokiya chittas, mundane chittas, plus 8 supramundane chitta without jhana. So that makes 89. And if we consider it to be 40, then it's 81 Lokiya chitta plus 40 supramundane chittas with jhana. So that makes the 121. So that's the difference. Why sometimes we say 89, sometimes we say 121. That's considering whether with jhana or without jhana. Okay. Yes, Amar?
Yes. So can Lokuttara chitta arise without jhana chittas?
Yes.
Okay. So one can just not practice jhana at all, and they can get the Lokuttara chitta.
Yes. Jhana is not necessary for the attainment. We're talking about the Arūpāvacara or Arūpāvacara jhana absorption, no? No, not talking about samadhi. Okay. Well, so we talk about the jhana absorption. This is not a requisite for the attainment of enlightenment for Magga and for Phala. So there are people which is called purely vipassana practitioner. They do not practice, they do not have jhana attainment, but they are enlightened. It is possible. It's not necessary. But also the Buddha says that it is also recommendable, because jhana is also very sublime types of citta, very pure. So if possible, also it is a good way, but not necessary.
No, not even without practicing vipassana also, there was stories about like even just listening to Dhamma, some people attend Lokuttara citta, right? Sotapatti.
Yes, but actually what happens in their mind is that they practice while they are listening. So those when they listen to the words of the Buddha, then in their mind they contemplate about nama rupa, and then they went through all the stages of enlightenment. So there is no, according to the Abhidhamma, how the mind works. When we studied about the mental processes, then it will be very clear. No one get enlightened. Magga citta does not arise without getting through all these processes. So in the sutta, it is not recorded what happens in the cittas, but we need to understand that they are listening, but they actually are contemplating while they are listening, and then they went through all the stages of enlightenment. It must go through that way.
Okay.
Yes, Justin.
Hi, I just wanted to clarify, is Magga citta the one that takes Nibbana as an object, and is Phala citta the resultant consciousness after coming out of Nibbana? Because in Nibbana, you said there is no, it's above the realm of Cittas, right?
And Nibbana is what? Sorry? The last part I couldn't listen well.
It's above the realm of Nama Rupa, or it's above the realm of Cittas. So there's no citta arising, right?
Okay. Now, okay, let's separate it into two parts. First part, whether Magga citta takes Nibbana as an object. Yes. Phala citta also actually take Nibbana as an object. All Lokuttara cittas take Nibbana as an object. Okay. Now, another thing. Nibbana, what is Nibbana? Nibbana is actually the object of Magga and Phala cittas. It is an object. It is not a realm. So Nibbana is not inside the 31 plane of existence. It's not any of them. So it's not a place where the enlightenment person goes or anything like that. It is just an object which when the mind is pure, then it takes Nibbana as its object. So Magga citta, the function of Magga citta is to eradicate the defilements. And then with this defilements eradicated, then Phala citta arise. So Magga citta has actually it has two functions. It's like putting out fire. So at the same time, it puts out the fire, puts out the defilement, and it feels peaceful at the same time. Fire is gone. So Nibbana, Magga citta has these two functions, feeling peaceful and eradicating the defilements, these two functions. And Phala is the result of it. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Edith? Sorry,
I just wanted to
sorry, it's
ask.
Austin, not Justin. I just mistaken your name. Sorry about that. Yes, Eddie.
So I just want to quickly ask if one being or one person can only have one type of Lokuttara citta with jhana, right? With one specific jhana and not all of them, or?
Yeah, I think it's with one, because if the person when he attained enlightenment, when he attained the first stage or the second stage or the third stage or fourth stage of enlightenment, it depends. For example, when he attained the first stage of enlightenment, he already practiced the jhana. He has the first Arūpāvacara jhana. So in that case, that Magga citta, that if we are taking the 121 method, that way, then the first Sotapatti Magga Citta that arises in him is the one that is together with the first Rūpāvacara jhana quality, right? That one. Okay. Then later on, as a Sotapanna, then he practiced, and then he got the fifth jhana, let's say. Then, for example, in that case, then when he attained the second stage of enlightenment, he already have the fifth jhana quality. So he's the second, the Sakadagami Magga is together with the fifth jhana quality.
Yeah, so that was my question. If I mean, they didn't have to again attain the Sotapanna with a different jhana, because
no, that's not possible. Magga Citta only arise once.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
All right, welcome. Okay, let's go a little bit more. We still have a few slides. This is actually where we are coming. So now each Magga Citta arises only once and it passes away. And immediately after Magga Citta, then 2 or 3 moments of Phala Cittas arise. In the supermundane Cittas, Lokuttara Cittas, Phala, which is the Vipaka Citta, the resultant consciousness of Magga Citta, it arises immediately after its cause. So this is the only case where cause and effect arise just immediately, one after the other. So Magga is the cause and Phala is the result. It arises just immediately. It's the only case actually. And Magga Citta is actually very powerful. It arises only once, but it is so powerful that it can eradicate some kind of defilements only once, and then it never arises again. For one person, maximum, these Cittas arise only once throughout samsara, only once. One Sotapatti Magga, one Sakadagami Magga, one Anagami Magga, one Arahata Magga. That's it. It never arises again. But Phala, it's possible for Phala to arise many times. But Magga only once. Okay? All right, so now we still have 15 minutes. There are some other information about the 4 stages of enlightenment. Should we go through it? Okay, yeah, there's quite some more information. Okay, let's keep that for next week then. Okay, yes, then shall we answer the questions of Amar and one more of Mila, and then we can stop today.
Okay, yeah, so this is question in regards to Magga and Phala, right? So once you reach the Sotapatti state, which means one of the Sotapatti Citta arises once, right? So then then in order to practice from practice point of view, right? So you don't need to have a Magga Citta arise again, right? It will just Phala Citta, right? For Sotapatti.
When a person, you mean sorry, I don't actually understand your question. Can you repeat it?
You say that the Magga Citta will arise only once, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that means the for Sotapatti, I think it has to go through 7 lifetime or so, right, in order to go to so throughout this time, then it will be even in next life or next other realm, all the other Citta will be all Phala Citta only, right? That's what you said, right?
Okay, so first, for a person who have already attained the first stage of enlightenment, then he not necessarily he must live another 7 lifetime. That's a maximum. He can attain Arahatship in that very same life. So, for example, a person, he attained the first stage of enlightenment as a Sotapanna this lifetime, and then he continue practicing. He can attain the 2nd and 3rd and 4th stage of enlightenment in this very same life. So not necessarily he must go through the 7 lives. Okay, so first thing. Second thing, if he didn't attained a further attainment in this lifetime, and he passed away as a Sotapanna. So when he is reborn in the next life, he is already a Sotapanna. So that Magacita will also never arise again in him. Then he has to continue practice to attain the second stage of enlightenment in that next lifetime.
So next lifetime, when he is practicing, then the Sotapatti Chitta arises that he doesn't need to practice to get the Sotapatti Chitta again, right? It is already there.
No, he already attained Sotapanna, so it's not necessary to go through that again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Mila.
This is not really an important question, but I heard that Phalacita was pronounced, Phalacita was pronounced as Palachita as well. Is that also possible? Or is it?
Okay, I don't actually know. Let me ask my teacher about Pali terms. I usually pronounce it as Phala, but I will have to ask again whether whether it is pronounced as did you say Pala?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will ask. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Welcome. Yes, Claudia.
My question is, Magacita and Phalacita have the same characteristics, even though Maga arise only once?
No, because Maga is the cause and its function is different. The function of Maga is to eradicate the defilements. Maga is the cause, and they are actually different types of Cittas. Maga is actually is Lokuttara Citta, but it is a cause. And Phala Citta is actually a Vipaka Citta. It's a resultant consciousness. It's the result of Maga. So Maga and Phala, they are not the same. And later on, I think that
one is the cause and the other one is the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think later,
yes.
Welcome. Later on, that there will be more information coming about Maga and Phala Cittas. Yes, Edith.
So I wanted to ask if a Sotapanna, when they are reborn in another realm or same realm, would they remember the Dharma? Because you said they have to practice further. So would they remember something?
Yes, I think so. Once you get it, then it's always with it. There is no coming back. There's no returning. So it's like, that's why it's called stream entry. Once you enter the stream, you're bound to arrive to the ocean. So there is no coming back. And so there are some characteristics of a Sotapanna. Actually, those are the information that we do not have enough time to go through today. So we will do it next week, and then it will become quite clear. For example, just briefly, I will say one of them, like a Sotapanna, he will never break the 5 precepts again. He is actually not capable of breaking the 5 precepts because he already has eradicate some kind of defilements and or some other certain types of defilement into a certain degree. So they are not capable of doing those kind of things anymore. So in that case, that person, maybe knowing it or not, but he will not be able to do those things, and then he will keep developing his mental quality. Whether he understand it to be called Sotapanna or not, then that's actually what it is called is not the main point. No, like his quality, his mind quality is important. So he already has that quality of mind, and he will continue developing.
But he still has to meet the Dharma again?
No, not really, because he already knows Dhamma, because he already attained the first stage of enlightenment. So we're going back to Chia's question. If a person, he attained the first stage of enlightenment, then he was reborn into the non-material realm. There, he does not have, he cannot listen to the Dhamma anymore, or he cannot see other people, or like that, like in those realms, there is no Rupa, no? But still he can attain the final goal there because he already has the Dhamma.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So if there are no more questions, that we will finish it here today, and some other more information about the 4 stages of enlightenment, we will go through them next week. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. So let's dedicate our merits for Nibbana, for the attainment of Lokuttara Cittas, which we studied today, and also for sharing merits to all beings. Itam no punyam maga phala jnana sa pacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam maga phala jnana sa pacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam maga phala jnana sa pacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam sabhasatanam pajimam. Itam no punyam sabhasatanam pajimam. Itam no punyam sabhasatanam pajimam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'll see you again next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you.